Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sneha and today I'm going to be sharing dupes. So many of these will be dupes in terms of the texture and the formula of the product, whereas some of them will be dupes for the shades. I have a little over 20 dupes, so let's get started. In case you're curious about this makeup look, it will be up on my Instagram as a reel or as an IGTV. So do consider following me there. My Instagram handle is at beautylashes19. The first dupe is from the Mothership 8 palette, Divine Rose 2 palette, and it's for this multi-chrome shade right here. So this one shifts from a pink to a green predominantly, and also there's like a gold flip to it sometimes. So I'm just going to swatch that here, and I've already swatched the dupe right next to it. You can see that. So the dupe is the Carla Cosmetics Multi-Chrome in the shade Snooze. So this is what they look like on my hand and even on my finger. You can see that they are very identical. The one on my index finger is the Carla Cosmetics Snooze, whereas the one on my middle finger is the Mothership palette, the Sextraterrestrial shade. So as you can see, they're very similar. The flip is also very similar, although it doesn't show much on camera just because I'm using gloomy London daylight. But trust me, they're very, very similar, especially once they're on the eyes. The only difference I can tell, if I have to be really nitpicky, is that the multi-chrome in the Pat McGrath palette is just marginally lighter, if that makes sense. So the pink is slightly lighter than this one, which is the Carla Cosmetics one, which is just a fraction deeper. So in terms of price comparison, the Pat McGrath palette retails for £120. And if you didn't want to get the entire palette, the color story doesn't appeal to you, but you did want to try something similar to the multi-chrome, you can try the Carla Cosmetics one, which retails for, I believe, around £99 here in the UK. Or as I did, bought it as a part of a bundle, so the price came down with discount to about £15 to £16. I do realize that other indie brands have also done this, so if you have access to other brands, such as the ones in the US, I believe Sydney Grace also has something very, very similar to this, so that can be a good alternative. The second dupe is for this Pat McGrath concealer brush, which retails for £25 here in the UK. Dupe that I found is this brush by Zoeva. This is brush number 146, and this one retails for £12 to £15 as of now online. It's almost half the price. Now I have tried the Pat McGrath concealer brush at Selfridges when I went out to check the concealers, which was, I believe, late last year or early this year before the pandemic. So I have experienced how it feels under the eyes. So I gave this one a go, and this was very much the same. It fits really well in the under eye area, in the inner corner, great for blending. And I also like that it feels like you're patting in with your finger. It's a great brush to try, especially if you're looking at the Pat McGrath brush. The next dupe is for some of the special shades in Pat McGrath palette, so such as these two shades right here. These are from the Mothership 3 palette. So in terms of the texture, the closest that I've found are a few different brands. The first one is MAC. So their Extra Dimension in the shade Stylishly Merry reminds me a lot of that first shade from the Mothership palette, and also the texture of a Dazzle eyeshadow. This one is called Last Dance. It's quite similar. So I'm just going to swatch these quickly. So swatching the Pat McGrath one first. Next to it, I'm going to do the MAC Extra Dimension one. And then lastly, the MAC Dazzle eyeshadow. It looks like that. So if you can see, the texture and finish is quite similar. And those retail for $16.50 or $17.50 in comparison with the special shades, which you can only get in the quads, which are around £60–65 if I'm not wrong, or you can get them in the bigger Mothership palettes, which retail for £120. Another brand that does these kind of textured eyeshadows quite well is Nabla Cosmetics. So this is one of their single eyeshadows. It's called Water Dream. Very different in texture. You can see that it looks very wet. You can see intensely reflective and gorgeous. I would say the Nabla ones are slightly more closer to the Pat McGrath ones than the MAC ones. And between the two MAC finishes, I would say the Extra Dimension one is the closer finish. You can also get these kind of finishes in their smaller cutie palettes, such as the shade right here, which is called Mandarin. And then also in this berry palette, I think the shade is also quite a similar texture. So swatching those two, probably here, one, then two. So if I bring that in closer, you can see the finish and the sparkle to these. So the Nabla single eyeshadows retail for about £9 to £10, so they're a great steal, especially if you want to try and mimic the Pat McGrath glittery kind of effect. And on these palettes, they often have sales, so buy one, get one 50% off or something like that. So definitely keep an eye out for those sales. Another comparison between Pat McGrath and single eyeshadows are the skin finish or skin show shades, I believe. So those are usually the first shade in the bigger Mothership palettes. So I'll swatch from Mothership 8 and also Mothership 3. I'll show you those two. They're quite a soft finish, but usually have a flip as well. So they usually have like a light beige or pink kind of a background. Then they flip to a peach or a gold. So usually that's what the shades look like. That's the two shades from the Mothership palettes. The first one is from Divine Rose 2 and this one is from Mothership 3. So Divine Rose 2, Mothership 3. Now something similar that I found is again from Nabla Cosmetics. This is their eyeshadow in the shade Millennium. This has a peach shift, but very similar in terms of consistency and the texture of these eyeshadows. So if I were to swatch it right next to the second one, you can see that flip right there. So bringing it in closer. So the top one is the Nabla one and the other two are from Pat McGrath. I would say the first and the third one are quite similar, just that the Nabla one is slightly more peachy. So Millennium is definitely a great shade to check out and it's currently on sale, I believe, on BeautyPie for £6. So it's a great eyeshadow, not just for inner corner, but also all over the eyelid. I really enjoy these kind of shades. Next is a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury Contour Wand. Now this is made in Italy and the dupe product is also made in Italy. That makes me think that it's from the same industry, and just that the branding is slightly different. And if you look at the price difference, it's insane. So let's swatch this one first. This is in the shade Medium to Dark. Swatched it right there. Looks like a nice gray-brown color, which is good for not just bronzing, but also for contouring, depending on how much you apply and your skin tone. Now the dupe for that is from BeautyPie. Now comparing the price, the Charlotte Tilbury retails for £29, while the BeautyPie one, the price fluctuates, but I generally get it for under £7. So £6.76 is what I paid for this. And with this, I think you get two shades. The one I have is number 2. The top one is BeautyPie, whereas the bottom one is Charlotte Tilbury. So there is slight shade difference. I would say the BeautyPie one is more of a bronzing shade for me, slightly more golden and warmer compared to the Charlotte Tilbury one, which is more cool toned, if that makes sense. But the formula is very, very similar, and once you blend it out, you can't really tell a difference on the skin. So I personally think these are great dupes. By the way, the BeautyPie one looks so wet just because I freshly squeezed out because there wasn't much on the applicator. So that's the only reason it looks wet. But if I were to blend it out a bit, rub it into the skin, so it looks a lot better, I would say, and more comparable. On similar lines is the light one, the Beauty Light one from Charlotte Tilbury. This one again retails for £29, and as per previous, this is also made in Italy. And the shade I have is Goldgasm, which is a stunning golden shade, which is what I have lightly on top of my cheekbones right there. There you go. It looks absolutely stunning, especially if you have a tan skin tone. The original shade was quite a bit lighter, so which is why I didn't get that. And BeautyPie recently launched their luminizing wand. So this is what that looks like. Packaging is very similar. I paid £6.53 for this. Very, very affordable. And this one, the shade is quite a bit lighter. So I think this one might be more comparable to the original shade. So you can see that the top one is BeautyPie and the bottom one is Charlotte Tilbury. The texture and finish is very, very similar. You can't really tell a difference once it's blended onto the skin. The color, definitely I prefer Goldgasm on my skin tone, but if you're of a lighter skin tone, the BeautyPie one is so much cheaper. So definitely check the BeautyPie one if you're of a fair to light skin tone. Next, moving on to some lip products, and I have plenty of lip products to compare. So the first one is a dupe for Charlotte Tilbury Lip Cheat in the shade Hot Gossip. This retails for £17. Swatch that right here. It's also comparable to a MAC lip liner. This one is in the shade Spice, and I believe this retails for around 15 or 16 pounds. I'm going to swatch that right next to this one. You can see that. Spice is just a tad bit more pink, but the dupe that I have, especially for the first Charlotte Tilbury shade, is from BeautyPie again. This is the shade Foxy, and it is absolutely stunning. So let me swatch this one on top of these two. So there you go. If I bring that in closer. Foxy is almost like a marriage between these two shades from Charlotte Tilbury and MAC. But once they're on the lips, it's very hard to tell the difference. So I absolutely love that. Also, this one is more similar in texture to the Charlotte Tilbury one because it goes on like a gel, but then it sets and it does not budge, unlike the MAC lip pencils, which do smudge and go around if you were to smudge the lip liner. So again, this is what they look like. The next dupe is for the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk 2, which is the medium shade. And this one retails for £25. And this is what the color looks like. Now I do have a bunch of potential dupes for this over on my Instagram post. It was probably a few months old, but it is up there if you're interested. But for today, I'm going to compare it with a lipstick. This is again by BeautyPie. This one retails for £5.09, and this is the shade Sweet Life, and it's their matte trans lipsticks. This is what the bullet looks like. And if I were to swatch that next to the Charlotte Tilbury one, the shades are very, very similar. I would go on to say that the BeautyPie one is just a tad bit more emollient than the Charlotte Tilbury one. And therefore, I feel like the Charlotte Tilbury one may be marginally more long wearing than this one. But I do realize that some people like very emollient and comfortable lipsticks. So this one might be a great option for you guys. Next, we have a dupe for the Pat McGrath lip liner. This is in the shade Major. It's a beautiful red shade. Again, swatching it right here. Again, these are very long wearing lip liners. So once they set on the lips, they do not budge. Just do a proper swatch. You can see better. Okay, so that's the Pat McGrath one. And this lip pencil retails for £29. So the dupe that I found for it is again from BeautyPie. So if you're interested in getting the membership, definitely do check it out. And this retails for £2.93, so under £3. And the shade I have here is Racy. So again, this is what it looks like. I'm just going to do a swatch under the Pat McGrath one. And this is the shade comparison. The bottom one is Pat McGrath, the top one is BeautyPie. The next dupe I have for you guys is for another Pat McGrath lip liner. This is the shade Night Fever. Again, retails for £29. I'm going to swatch it on top of the red right here. So this is what that looks like. Beautiful plummy burgundy kind of color, red violets, which I absolutely love. And the dupe I have for you guys is again from BeautyPie. These are, by the way, called the Moisture Lock Wonder Gel Lip Liners, and this is in the shade Sexy Beat. And I'm going to swatch it right on top. So there you have it. This is the BeautyPie one. The one next to it is Pat McGrath. Also, I find that the texture, the BeautyPie ones glide on just a little bit more smoother than the Pat McGrath ones. Next is a dupe for the Hydra liners from Suva Beauty. So essentially these are water activated paints, which you can get in different colors, and some of them are UV activated, so they are more intense under UV light. So each of these retails for £12.50. And the dupe that I have for it is from Burn Beauty, which is an indie brand here in the UK. And this particular shade is Kiss Me, which I feel like is a slightly more red version of the shade, which is called Scrunchie from Suva Beauty. So this is what the two look like. Very, very similar, I would say. And this one is the shade Kiss Me, if I didn't tell you guys, and it's again UV sensitive. And this retails for £6 if you buy it as a single, or I got it for £4, which was a part of a 7-shade bundle. Now in terms of swatching these, just got a random brush, first doing the Suva Beauty one. So this is what that looks like. And then I'm going into the Burn Beauty shade. This is Kiss Me. Essentially, you want to get like a nice paste with these. And if I were to swatch it right here, see that. Going to let these dry and I'll show you what these look like under UV light. So once they dry down, this is what the two look like. The top one is from Suva Beauty and the bottom is from Burn Beauty. And then if I were to shine UV light on them, you can see how bright and reflective they get. So no UV light, UV light. So very, very comparable. Next is a dupe for the Pat McGrath lip pencil. This is in the shade Supernatural. This retails for £29. Just going to swatch it right here. There you have that. And the dupe for this is not very inexpensive, but relatively speaking, it is inexpensive. This is the MAC lip pencil and the shade is Stripped Down. This retails for about 15 or 15.50 here in the UK. So at least £14 cheaper than the Pat McGrath one. So I'm going to swatch it right on top. There you have it. So the bottom one is Pat McGrath Supernatural. The top one is MAC Stripped Down. Very, very similar. But again, something to note is that the MAC lip liners are not very long wearing. They will come off if you were to eat or drink with this kind of a lip liner, whereas the Pat McGrath one is more of a gel formula and stays put. So that's kind of a bargain between the two. Now I have two lip liners that have dupes, but the dupes are not necessarily cheaper, if that makes sense. They are very, very similar in price. But I've included these just in case you have that first lip liner and you were considering getting the second one. You can get to know how similar these really are. The first one is for the Charlotte Tilbury lip pencil in the shade Bond Girl, or now it's called, I think, Am I Kissed or Am I Kissing? So let's swatch this. I'm going to do this third up right here. Right there. This one retails for £17 and the dupe is not really cheaper, but in case you have one or the other, then you don't need to buy the other is what I'm trying to say. This is the Makeup Forever Aqua Lip Pencils. These are for £15 and the shade is 14C. So just going to swatch it right here on top. I would say the Makeup Forever one is just a slightly bit more cooler pink or lighter pink than the Charlotte Tilbury one, which has a little bit more red tones to it, but quite similar. And the second one is for the MAC lip pencil. This is in the shade Stone. Quite a popular shade, especially for lighter skin tones. They like to use this more as a defining shade and to add more shadow around the lips for a more contoured lip look. I'm just going to swatch this right on top here. So that's Stone. And the dupe, which is around the same price, around £15, is the Makeup Forever Artist Pencil. This is in the shade 508 Total Taupe. This is what those two look like. I actually prefer the Makeup Forever shade just a fraction bit more because it has some brown tones to it, whereas the MAC one looks straight up grey, at least on my skin tone. Another thing to note is that the Makeup Forever Artist Pencils are certified, I guess, in a way to be used all over the face. So you can use it on your eyes, lips, you want to draw around the face, you can use it for that. So that's a good thing, whereas the MAC ones are specifically designed for the lips. I'm not sure if these are eye safe, so that's something to consider. Next is a potential dupe for the Natasha Denona Chromium liquid eyeshadows. And I was particularly interested in the shade Scarab, but I saw that the container was really small. It was priced at £26. And thirdly, that because it's a liquid, it has the tendency to probably dry out or has a shorter shelf life. So that's the reason I was skeptical in getting these and instead chose to get a loose multi-chrome. So this is by Carla Cosmetics and this retails for $19.99, but generally I can pick it up as a bundle for cheaper, or there's usually also discount code, so I got it for slightly cheaper than that. And the shade is Neverland, and this is what that looks like. Just going to, so you can see that it has that golden peachy kind of a shift to green. And then as I move it, hopefully you can see the flip. But again, you can only see two shades on camera right here, but if I were to look down like this, the shade is completely different. So it looks absolutely stunning and looks very, very similar to the online swatches for the shade Scarab by Natasha Denona. So this is my way of trying that shade. The next dupe is from my last video, which was on Eldridge lipsticks. So in case you didn't get your hands on Velvet Affair and were interested, let me show you two potential dupes. So this is what Velvet Affair looks like. Beautiful warm toned peachy brown, which I absolutely love. It makes for an amazing nude on medium to tan skin tones. So these retail for £26 and I have two dupes for this. The first one is the Charlotte Tilbury Lip Cheat in the shade Hot Gossip. These retail for £17, so slightly cheaper than the Eldridge lipsticks. Going to swatch that right above the lipstick. There you go. The bottom one is the lipstick and that's the Hot Gossip by Charlotte Tilbury. Just going to spread it evenly. And the third dupe that I have for you is from BeautyPie. This is the shade Foxy and this retails for under £4, so 3.7 is what I paid for this. If I were to swatch this on top, that's what the three shades look like. So we have Velvet Affair, Charlotte Tilbury Hot Gossip, and then BeautyPie Foxy, which is slightly more pink tone compared to the other two. Yeah. And since my last Lisa Eldridge video, I ended up buying two more Velvet lipsticks, of which one of them was Velvet Myth, which is an absolutely beautiful red violet kind of a color, which I love. So I'm just going to swipe that. There you have it. Again, this retails for £26. And I have two dupes for this, but one is not really a dupe because it's more expensive than the lipstick. But it is the Pat McGrath lip liner in the shade Night Fever. So I'm just going to swatch that right next to the lipstick, right there. And then lastly, the real dupe, which retails for £3.2 here in the UK, is the shade Sexy Beat from BeautyPie. So there you have it. So you have Velvet Myth, Pat McGrath in Night Fever, and then BeautyPie in Sexy Beat. I feel like the BeautyPie one is a better match for the lipstick compared to the Pat McGrath one. Next we have brow pencils. So a dupe for the ABH Brow Wiz, which retails for £23. I have this in the shade Ebony. So I'm going to swatch this and compare it with two other dupes. The first one is by NYX. This is their micro brow pencil and the shade I have here is black. And this retails for £9. And in comparison, we have the BeautyPie Super Brow Precision Pencil. And this retails for only £3.5. So this is fantastic. And the shade I have here is Hot Coffee. So I'm just going to swatch this on the back of my hand and be right back. So there we have the swatches. This first one is ABH at the bottom right here. The second one is the NYX pencil. This third one is by BeautyPie. As you can see, the shade is very similar, especially once it goes on the brow. So they're very difficult to find a difference between all the different formulas. Of the three, ABH is the driest formula, followed by NYX and then the BeautyPie one. But I have used the BeautyPie pencil up completely before. This is a backup and I have not found anything transferring or moving from my brows. So why not spend 3.5 instead of £23 on the ABH pencil or even £9 on the NYX pencil. Next is a dupe for either Bobbi Brown cream shadow sticks. This is a mini one, or for Laura Mercier eyeshadow sticks. So the Bobbi Brown one and the Laura Mercier ones retail for around £24–25. But the dupe that I found is from BeautyPie. These are their eyeshadow sticks and the shade I have here is Vanilla Whirl, which I think is a very good dupe for Bobbi Brown's Vanilla, which is a very popular shade. So swatching the BeautyPie one first. This makes for an excellent base for lighter skin tones. Then I don't have the vanilla one from Bobbi Brown. I have a mini one in the shade Golden Pink. So I'm just going to swatch this one right next to it. And because it's a shimmer formula, I'm also going to swatch a shimmer formula from BeautyPie. This is the shade Huntress. It's a beautiful golden color. So there we have. The bottom one is BeautyPie Vanilla. The second one is a Bobbi Brown shimmery one called Golden Pink. And the third one is BeautyPie. The shade is Huntress. So as you can see, these are cream shadows. They go on very easily on the eyelids. You have a little bit of playtime with them, so you can blend them up, use it on its own, or you can use it as a base for powder eyeshadows. Especially if you don't have particularly oily eyelids like mine, these will be fabulous as eye bases. Next is a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury Collagen lip balms, which retail for £25. I'm not sure about shades or what this shade that I have would be an exact dupe for, but I feel like the formula and the texture is very similar. I don't own any collagen baths from Charlotte Tilbury, but I have felt the texture in store. And the one that comes close to it is the BeautyPie one. This is called the Wonder Gloss Collagen Lip Oil Plus. This is the shade Cheerio. It looks scary in the tube, but it goes on extremely sheer. So if I were to apply it on my hand, you can see that it's very, very little color. It's almost translucent with just a hint of pink or raspberry kind of a color. But it feels very nourishing on the lips and is fabulous. This one retails for £7. And then last but not the least, I have some dupes for eye pencils. So I have this eye pencil again by BeautyPie. You guys are going to kill me for this, but this retails for only 3.66, so under £4. And this performs equally well as some of the other high-end eyeliners that I'm going to show you in a bit. So the shade that I have here is very pretty plum. I didn't get any matte ones just because I already have so many blacks and browns. So, but in the future I will be trying them out. But for now, let's try a shimmer shade. So that's the BeautyPie one, very easy to glide on, and you get a few minutes to blend if you want to, but once they set, they do not budge, just like their lip liners. Compared to that, we have the Charlotte Tilbury Rock and Coal Eye Pencil. This is in the shade Elizabeth Violet. This is the kind of closer shade to it, but way, way deeper and more blue toned. There you have it. Next, we have one of the flash crayons from Linda Hallberg, which retail for £14. That's the third one. I'm also going to swatch a Makeup Forever Aqua Eyes pencil. This is the shade 12L. And then I don't have the shimmery one for Pat McGrath, which I believe is the blue one. In terms of longevity, the BeautyPie one lasts as long as the Pat McGrath one. So this is the Permagel Ultra Glide Eye Pencil in Black Coffee. Those are all the eyeliners. So that's it for this video. I really hope these dupes were helpful to you guys, especially those of you who are BeautyPie members. If you found this helpful, definitely give it a thumbs up and also consider subscribing for more videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!